Hello and welcome back to Midweek Fixture. It is episode 30 today. I'm Louis Sellen. We are joined once again by Annabel. Longer video today. We're going to be previewing the FA Cup game, the final Man City against Crystal Palace, as that is this weekend. So sit back, relax, and welcome back to Midweek Fixture. So Annabel, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Louis. Looking forward to the FA Cup final. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I mean, I'm missing the first half of the FA Cup final because I'm working, but I mean, I probably wouldn't watch it anyway because
Hate
nervous,
watch. Yeah.
nervous
No.
if could impact European spots, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So let's just start with what are your feelings ahead of the final?
Ooh, mixed feelings. I mean, I wasn't as confident as a lot of City fans going into semi-final against Forest, and I think everyone is now sort of unanimous in that feeling of nerves going into the game against Palace. One, because it's a final, and of course we're chasing European spots in the Premier League, and also two, because it gives us a chance to get Europe just via this, massive FA Cup final. So yeah, it's nerve-wracking because Palace are obviously doing very well, but I know they had a good run, but recently they've had a bit more of a mixed bag of results. So I'm thinking hopefully with that sort of break in momentum, I mean, they've just won against Tottenham, but prior to that, they drew and lost. I think it was three draws in a row. So, yeah, they've had a mixed bag of results. So I think I'm not as nervous maybe as prior, but they're still an incredible side at the moment. And, yeah, Mateta definitely is scary to me. Obviously, he's back from his injury against Fulham in their, I think it was quarterfinal. And then you've also got, obviously, Eze, Sarr, lots of different players. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. Plus, I'm sure we'll come on to it as you were discussing with me the other day that their sort of style of play is going to be very worrying for us to sort of deal with their quick breaks. But yeah, I'm sure we'll come on to that.
Yeah, I mean the run of form for Palace has been mixed, as you say. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm gonna hazard a guess that that's probably because their players are focused on the final.
yeah,
They're sort of thinking, in the back of their minds, they don't want to get injured, won't be able to play at Wembley in the final, which is fair enough. And that kind of seemed like the case at the weekend with City against
yeah.
Southampton. Though Pep denies it, the players sort of seemed like they weren't fully prepared to give everything in that game in case of an injury. I mean, you were there. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. It was a really difficult game. I think, as you said, no one was really going into the challenges or really overexerting themselves because, as you said, they want to reserve their tank for the arguably the biggest game of our season so far. So, yeah, I understand it. It was frustrating though because I think Pep's idea was to like rest some of our key players. Mamouche has obviously been great recently, and I was frustrated that he started Haaland. But I understand your thinking behind it is give him, a lesser opposition. No disrespect to Southampton, but of course they were relegated quite a few weeks ago. So, to put him in and give him a few minutes. But I was frustrated because I know how good Mamouche is. So, arguably, that was the reason is to rest them. But then he brought them on because we were really, intensely trying to attack them toward the end and had consecutive corners, but just couldn't do much with it. So that was, as you said, potentially down to the fact they didn't really want to overexert themselves. But also, I think Southampton were brilliant with their low block, and we just lacked creativity, which has been a problem all season. And that's something that I'm definitely concerned about against Palace. Is if we don't create enough opportunities, as we've said, they will hit you on the break, and they'll have to be clinical. And a lot of oppositions against City are because they know they have to be. So I guess that's the fear following Southampton is yes, we were reserving maybe our energy, but also we just didn't lack that creative edge.
Yeah, there are two main points there. Haaland, I understand,
Yeah,
give him a few minutes. Give him a few minutes now in this Southampton game. Doesn't matter if he's rubbish. At least he's got minutes in the tank before the
yeah,
final. Do I think he'll start the final? I do think he will. I think he starts
you
him.
will.
I
You
think he
think he
does
does?
start him in the final. I think he starts both, to be fair, Mamush and Haaland.
That was my dad's suggestion. My dad, yeah, he'll love it if that happens. He'll be frustrated, I think, if not, because you've got those two threats, and that's gonna, throw Palace's head off a little bit more. For me, if I had to pick one or the other, because I imagine Pep may not go with both. I don't know what his thinking is. We never know. I prefer Mamouche, but as you said, Haaland will probably get the start because he's already come straight back in. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one because, yes, you can start both, but then that's it. That's your two strikers gone.
yeah,
If one gets injured, you haven't got another proper striker. Well, I don't think Mamush is a proper striker anyway,
no,
but you haven't got another proper striker to bring on. You go into extra time,
yeah,
problems there. Your penalty takers, if it goes to penalties, you have a problem there. And then the other point, Palace's style of play. I mean, as a Brighton fan, it's annoying to say sometimes. Their style of play is fantastic. They
yeah.
defend brilliantly. They sort of play a low block. It's not like a proper low block. They defend very well. They defend with bodies, and then they can hit you on the counter attack like it's
Mhm.
nothing. Like straight through the middle, out wide. Eze, Sarr with the pace is really crucial for them on the counter, and then Mateta holding it up. He's also fast, can finish, and that could hurt City. Your fullbacks haven't been the best this season, and if they can get Sarr on the ball on the counter attack against Lewis, could be a problem there. Nunez will definitely be a problem there because he's not the greatest defender.
Even O'Reilly, he's great in an attacking sense and he's managed to do well at right back, but he's still, as you said, sort of got that, what do you call it, tendency to make mistakes or struggle against pace for sure.
Yeah, I just think if they can get it wide, City might have problems.
Yeah, and their fullbacks as well. They're influential. I think
Yes.
it's Mitchell and Munoz.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure how you pronounce his name, but they are both great as well at contributing to attacks, which is a problem, as you said, that pace. And they also high press, I believe, which is something that City have sort of struggled with. Obviously, with an older side, if you're thinking about Kevin De Bruyne starting for, his last FA Cup final, his last big match for City, and one of his last, ever for the club. I think if we're looking at age, that could also be a factor against their sort of pressing style in terms of we might struggle against that.
Yeah, of course. Oliver Glasner came from the Bundesliga, came from Frankfurt. The style over there is the Gegenpress. What Klopp sort of brought over to the Premier League, Glasner's now brought over to Palace, and their press, as you say, is incredible. Their intensity the whole game is just off the charts. The fact that Munoz has only missed one Palace game since he signed, I think that's a stat, or it's very little since he signed, with the ground that he runs at that right back position. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, it's a scary prospect for sure. I'm just hoping that Nunes and O'Reilly can impact the game as they have in their own regard, attacking wise, because they have been brilliant, So, and especially O'Reilly in the FA Cup. So I'm hoping he continues that. I mean, we saw fullback Rico Lewis. I mean, I didn't expect him to start at all. I don't think anyone did against Forest, and he gets a goal. So you just need someone like that getting up high. But then you also, as you said, leave yourself exposed to their counter.
Yeah, and then midfield wise, I think Palace's midfield can completely dominate City's midfield. You've got the likes of Vorton, Lerma. They're just
Kamada as well. Yeah.
Kamada's been an interesting one for Palace. Started the season
in and out.
absolutely horribly, but the last couple he's been quite good. But Wharton, arguably the best midfielder in the Premier League. City without Rodri, of course, still.
Yeah.
Gonzalez hasn't really hit the ground running.
No.
And I think if it goes the counter attack, the midfield battle is another problem for City in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if Gonzalez will start. I mean, my dad's a big fan of the few sort of cameos we've seen from him, but you've got Kovacic who potentially will play, and you've got De Bruyne, as you said, with that sort of age against their lively midfield. It is a concern. I don't know if Gundo will start in the midfield. I mean, Phil was favoured on the weekend, but I don't think he should be anywhere near, a starting 11 against Palace in an FA Cup final.
Yeah, I mean, Wharton was unavailable for the Spurs game, I believe, at the weekend, but he should be back for this. I mean, you want the best players back because you want to see the best players playing.
Yeah.
But on Palace players quickly, I think they could struggle in the summer window. You're going to have big offers for the Wharton. You're going to have your big offers for the Gahey, Eze, Spurs potentially big offers coming in there. So if they lose, this might be their last chance in a long, long time to win something. So they're going to be right up for it. But it is City. City don't really lose finals that often.
No.
But do you think that even more so now, this is your only chance for a trophy this season? How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen us sort of up that tempo. I think it's not that, we don't want to. It's just in the Premier League, maybe that has naturally dropped off. There isn't that same intent to win. I mean, that's something the fans have questioned a lot, but I don't think any of us have questioned that in the FA Cup. As you said, it's our biggest chance to get a trophy, our biggest chance to get Europe and sort of conclude the season on some sort of positive note. So yeah, I've seen the intensity from the side and that intent there. I mean, against Forest, it was one of my favourite games to have been to this season, live or on TV, because of the fact that we just started so well and there was so much pace and intent about our play. And I think quick passes has been something Pep emphasised, and more so against Palace, against their presses, you've got to move that ball quickly. And that was a real problem against Southampton, and it's been really incoherent or inconsistent really this season, where some games we look like we're actually on it and we want to move that ball quickly. Other times we make it far too easy. Everything's played in front of the back line. It's quite easy to defend against and not much movement from us. So I'm just hoping that we continue that. If we don't, then I don't see it going our way at all. As you've said, there's quite a few areas that they can hurt us with. Their midfield's better, as we said. Their fullbacks can be brilliant with their pace and sort of creative abilities, and you've got the same with their forwards. So I don't really know. I mean, the blind optimism in me, and as you said, the fact that City don't really lose many cup finals gives me hope that we will win, maybe like a narrow 2-1. But at the same time, I think I can't really see past Palace if they do capitalise on their opportunities that they're undoubtedly going to get against our fullbacks.
Yeah, I mean, Palace are going to be right up for it. Their fans are always up for it.
Yeah,
They've raised about 50 grand for a tifo display.
incredible.
So
Wow.
it's all the
Yeah.
players. I know Dean Henderson put quite a bit of money into it, so that they're going to be right up for it. They're going to be loud.
Yes, it'll be a
And
sellout for sure, like Forest, because they literally haven't been there in years and years and
uh,
years. So
Palace didn't sell out the semi-final,
did they
and
not?
I'm not entirely sure if they've sold out the final yet.
Wow. I reckon they might though. Surely this
They
is an
should
FA
do.
Cup final. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they should do, and they're always loud. And as you say,
Mm.
I think the game is going to be decided in the first 10 minutes.
Ooh. Why the
If
10 minutes? You mean if someone gets an early goal or?
I mean, it depends how if if the occasion gets to them, they're nervous. You can
Yeah,
score 1-2 in the first 10 minutes, game over. But if
potentially. Yeah.
they remain solid, they're not. They don't play the occasion. They just play the game. Then I think it's Palace without a doubt. It just depends on that first 10 minutes. Like when you played Man United a few years ago,
Yeah.
Gundogan
Good
scored that
man.
goal in the
Yeah.
first few seconds. The game was decided there.
Interesting. Yeah, I sort of get your point. I mean, that's sort of you're disregarding the extra 80, but I understand that in terms of it sets the precedent. And like even against Forest, my dad argues they were nervous throughout that first half, especially because I think you only managed to watch the second half and you said, "Oh, Forest are dominating here. Don't know how they haven't scored. They, hit the post 3 times or something crazy." So it was definitely our 12th man that day. But no, 100%. I think in that first half they looked nervous, and as you said, if Palace do the same. But then again, I also think, as you were pointing out to me the other day, if City aren't on their game in terms of creating those opportunities and capitalising, because we are known not for putting the best balls into the box with Doku and Savino, or whoever plays out wide. Grealish doesn't really get a look in; he's in and out. If we don't do that, if there's no service to Haaland and Moosh, etc., then we're not going to capitalise, even if they are nervous. So I see it, as I said, being tight, but potentially if we do go, as you said, 1 or 2 goals up, it could decide the tie in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's quite common in cup finals for the smaller team
Yeah.
to feel those nerves in the first 10 minutes. And if Palace do go 1 or 2 down, their whole style of play is sort of, I don't want to say completely out the window, but they rely on sitting back, City coming high and countering. They can't really
Yeah.
sit back when they're 1 or 2 nil down in a cup final.
Exactly, you got to risk it more. Yeah, which
Yeah, which
leaves them more
then
exposed.
plays into your hands
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
wingers, your Dokus, your Savino. I know you don't rate them that much.
No.
Our opinions have sort of changed as the season's gone on.
Yeah.
Doku, I sort of agree with, hasn't been great. But if Palace have to come high, he's in behind his pace. And then Savino as well, he's in behind his pace. It will hurt them big time.
Mm. We hope so. It could be a battle of the pace. It sounds exciting. But
Yeah,
in the
I
past
do.
match,
It
who
will come
knows?
down to speed, honestly.
Yeah.
The speed the Palace attack has against your back line,
Mm.
dangerous.
I also think the forwards though are so important in terms of like the striker. Like Mateta's got to finish his chances. We've talked about Haaland not getting the service. He might, but at the same time he's got to then finish it. Which I know there's no question about Haaland with that. Just depends, as you said, on the service when these pacey wingers get in behind. I think the strikers could kill the game.
You think? I don't think the strikers are going to be the reason this game goes either way.
Ooh. I reckon in terms of who gets on the score sheet, yes, if you've got to finish a chance, unless the wingers just decide to take it on themselves. But I haven't seen Doku finish many chances himself. Same with Savino. I think Savino's got 1 goal for City. That is like poor in my eyes in terms of how many months he's now been here. But a lot of players do take a season or two to get into it. I mean, Rodri Ballon d'Or winner, different position, but took a while. So hopefully there's hope for him. But this season only 1 goal, I think.
Yeah, I don't think either Mateta or Haaland or Mamouche get on the score sheet. As you
Mhm.
say, Savino, Doko aren't really clinical,
No.
but Palace have Sarr, who's been very clinical in his last few games, and I think he'll be the deciding factor. He'll pick up the Man of the Match award if it goes to Palace,
Interesting.
and
Yeah.
if Palace are going to win, it's going to come from Ismaila Sarr.
Nice. I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, we haven't touched on Kevin De Bruyne, but I'm just hoping one of his free kicks goes in because he was close against Southampton. He had a few attempts, and I'm like, please, because what an ending that could be if he takes home the Player of the Match award for City.
I don't think he starts
You don't
personally.
think he starts? Could still come on and make that impact though. I just want him to score a winning free kick. That's
I
my
think
only wish. But
I
yeah, I
do.
don't know.
I think he starts Foden still.
No, I reckon he starts De Bruyne. I have to say, I don't think Phil did enough to warrant a start against Southampton, let alone against Palace in an FA Cup final. But I don't know. I just think if Pep is thinking about Kevin and his last big cup final, he'll start him, whether he should
Oh,
or not.
you can't take that into consideration.
I think he does though. I think Pep has gone a bit soft. I think we have discussed this before. Like he captained Kevin in a game where we thought, why is he doing that? And he still plays the older players like Gundogan. Not De Bruyne, sorry. Bernardo plays all of the time. I think he might even start, or one of the two. So yeah,
I guess the experience will help in that regard against Palace. But jumping
yeah,
back to a point earlier about Gonzalez, I
yes,
saw a tweet earlier about price tags. Obviously, transfer windows coming soon. City have already been linked or been in talks with Reinders,
yeah,
Florian Wirtz, two big
yeah,
signings there. But 60 million on Nico Gonzalez as a backup option,
yeah.
just buying league titles.
No, we could go off on a whole other tangent about how buying league titles is a lot harder than people think. The amount of money United has spent. I mean, we don't need to go into that. Chelsea as well, with their 27-player squad or whatever it was. I get you. I do understand that point. I mean, it's the price you pay at this time. Like I said, I think we're willing to pay 150 million. You said about Wirtz, so that just shows City are willing to pay the right money or more than the right money to get the players they want. Buying titles, I don't know, because Gonzalez is a backup, as you just said there, so he isn't
Yeah.
even going to play. Oh, the light's gone. He isn't even going to play, so I don't know what really happens with him, especially if we do start getting, Rodri back into the games.
But it's just another point quickly on the 60 million. 60 million
Yeah,
pounds for a backup,
yeah,
but Aston Villa are going to have to sell half their squad in the summer because they can't keep up with PSR. But City can spend 60 million on a backup CDM that's probably not going to play that much anymore.
I missed the beginning bit. Sorry, I was talking about my light. Ismail Assar, 60 million.
No, Gonzalez, 60 million.
Gonzalez, yeah.
But Aston Villa are going to have to sell half their squad in the summer to
Oh, Aston
play
Villa.
within PSR.
Yeah.
But
I
City can
don't know how
spend
that
60
works.
million on a backup.
I don't know how that works, but there must be rules to do a PSR that allows us to do that. So I can't comment. I'm not a PSR expert, but
It's-
clearly we're within the rules. I don't think we want to break any more than the case that's already ongoing with 115. So yeah,
Clubs can't compete anymore, person. They're smaller clubs. It's built for the top to stay at the top.
yeah,
And they try their hardest to keep your Cities, your Arsenals, your Liverpools, United, and even they're trying to keep United's at the top. But that's a conversation for another
it
day.
is. Yeah,
But last point here, Europe FA
yeah.
Cup final could have big ramifications on Europe. As it stands, eighth place gets Conference League. We're going to try and explain this now. A lot of things can happen if Chelsea win the Conference League and finish seventh, and City win the FA Cup. Eighth place gets Europa League football.
Wow.
If City win the Cup, Chelsea win the Conference League but finish in the top five, top six, eighth place goes Conference League. If Palace win the FA Cup, they take the eighth place European spot, and there will be no Premier League teams in the Conference League next season.
Wow. A lot of ramifications, as you said.
Yeah. So that eighth spot could be gone. If Palace win the FA Cup,
Yeah.
the eighth spot for Europe is gone and they get European football.
Yeah, which would mean that Brighton potentially miss out because you're in there with Fulham and Bournemouth, right?
Yeah, your Brentfords, who are in eighth,
Yes.
Brighton, Bournemouth, and Fulham are still sort of in it. They kind of
Yeah.
dropped off a little bit recently, but definitely
Yeah.
Brighton and Brentford are the two ones that will want the FA Cup final to go City's way. Brighton even more so because it's Palace, but still
Yeah.
Brentford will want it to be City, so they have the chance of getting that eighth European spot from the league.
Which would be bitterly disappointing for you as rivals as well, sort of thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Also, this is a joke light. This light just keeps going out on me. So there you go. I hope it's
you've got
providing
to
some sort of entertainment.
invest in some new lights.
I know I need to. This one's like a fairy light on and off.
But is there anything else you want to touch on for the final? Anything else you think is important to mention?
I don't really know. I mean, I was looking at Palace's substitutes. I don't think we talked about, if we're saying it could go to extra time, what the extra legs can do. Because I know they've got Nketiah, and a lot of Arsenal fans, I'm sure, will be hate watching, as that sort of term, the final, hoping that City don't get it. Because obviously now they're going the season without a trophy, and if City get one, it'd be a bit of a kick to the teeth of everything that Arteta and Arsenal have tried to achieve this season. But yeah, Palace's substitutes. do look like they could impact it. As I said, Nketiah, former Arsenal player, so yeah, he's on the bench. You've got Chilwell, Hughes, Lerma. So don't know too much about these players, but I do recognise their names and think, okay, they could impact the game even late on. Not sure about City's substitutes in terms of how effective they can be. Phil Foden, obviously, we know has sort of fallen off with form. But you've got the players like McAtee. Obviously, if Grealish doesn't start, he can also come on. So you're hoping for some sort of impact there. And I also argue that Doku is good as a substitute because a lot of the time recently he hasn't actually started. He comes on and makes that later impact. So I'm sure my mum would prefer him to come on later because she does think he can impact the game in that way. So substitutes could also play a key role if it is going to be tight till the end.
Let's look at Palace's substitutes from the weekend. Chilwell, Klein, Mateus França hasn't been that good for Palace, but he's still a very good player. Kamada was on the bench. Essay as well. We didn't mention Essay. And Kessie, yes.
I think they've rested quite a few of them, though, in terms of, like, Kamada, potentially, he played against Villa in the semi-final. He could come in against City, and that's why he was on the bench.
Yeah, and then the big one, in my opinion, is Devaney.
Who? I missed
youngster,
that.
Crystal Palace youngster, Devaney.
Devaney, okay, yes.
Has been very good when he's come on and played for them. I think he's a Palace through and through. He's going to want to, if he gets the chance, to imagine that.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I think that is it for today. A longer video than the last few ones. Last point on the channel itself. Going to change the channel slightly. Rebrand it a little bit. It's not going to be Midweek Fixture podcast anymore. Podcast's going. It's just going to be Midweek Fixture. Because I feel the videos sort of fit more just having it as Midweek Fixture. Still have these longer videos like these chats now, and I can still do the smaller videos because they don't really class the podcast in my opinion. And then more other videos, Midweek Fixture match days. Season's kind of finished now, unfortunately, so we won't get too many of them over the summer. We'll see what we can do. Will be some not journalism videos as well. A couple, I've been speaking to a few people. Annabel doesn't know about this, but she's going to be in it. She doesn't really have a choice. Football challenge videos, some football challenge videos, a bit of fun videos there. Still will link it to journalism somehow. But that is it. I shall see you next week. I'm sure we'll be back to talk about the final, review it next week. Depends who wins it. Depends if he gets on. Try and get Grace back on.
Nice.
If Palace win, we might get you both on.
I think we should have a discussion with both of us, to be honest, with whoever wins. As long as neither of us are too sore, I think it'd be interesting to see the perspective from both because it should be an exciting match for sure.
Yeah, we shall see what comes next week. But that is it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Check out Annabel on the Instagram and the Twitter. You can check all the links there and all the other videos there on the bottom of the screens and a few of them. What is your Twitter at? Your X at?
Sorry, I'm still fiddling with this light. It's not the light, by the way, it's the battery. But anyway, that's a story for another day. It's Annabel M. Bassett.
There you go. And then check out my TikTok, Soodlink Scouting. You know the X by now. LouisAllen_SJ. Articles coming out your ears everywhere you look. But that is it. See you next week. You know the outro by now. Adios.